Welcome to day 237 of TFIF 365. And so I want to go a little bit deeper into how binaries are problematic, and the lack of nuance keeps us from seeing not only a bigger picture, because that's too abstract, but connections between things. Because I'm seeing a lot of conversations about a lot of different things that are just, it's like, it's, your understanding is too narrow. It is too small. And this doesn't mean that do not take this as I think I know everything, because I don't. I just read a lot. And what I read is a lot of one subject, different opinions about one subject. As long as, now what I won't read is things that I understand are straight up, I was about to say propaganda. That's not true, because I will read propaganda with the understanding that it is propaganda. What I won't read, what I try to do is make sure whatever I'm reading, I understand the purpose. So if it's propaganda, I know it's propaganda. What I don't dabble in is trying to unpack the misinformation and disinformation, the basic lies. Just if it's a lie and you just, that does not go into my thing, my evaluation or understanding of something. But I'm telling you all this so you can understand how my brain works and how I approach situations differently than a lot of other people. And I want you to understand. So this is an example of one. So just this morning, I saw two different posts on Twitter that other people would not see the connection in. So I'm going to explain the connection. One was a thread, was actually a video of a person talking about universal health care and why the United States is the only country, Western country, I'll say that, that large Western country that doesn't have universal health care. And he breaks down how at every opportunity for a universal health care in the United States, it was, every attempt was denied or turned down because of white people deciding that they would rather not have health care if it meant black people were got health care. And then he read something that I had never heard before, and I'm going to have to go back and do some research. He was saying that, hold on, wait a minute. I just lost my train of thought. Give me a second. One of the things that I do know is that's why there's I don't know if it's what's part of it is the Medicare with the 20%. I know that was implemented to ensure that black people, because most black people don't have 20% to cover bills to get help. Okay, this is where I forgot. He was saying how there was, and I have to go find the resource. I'm going to read more about this. But and the initial, there was a person who believed that if we didn't give black people health care in the 3 generations, we would be died out and you wouldn't have to think of it. So that was the whole plan in the U.S. And this is why this is why the systems, institutions, and policies are all rooted in white supremacy and anti-blackness in the U.S. And although other countries have adopted it, they don't have the same dynamics or demographics that the U.S. has. So it's only now that immigrants are coming from black and brown countries are coming into their spaces, so they're not all white, that they're now dealing with this. But the plan has always been for our destruction. We were enslaved, we built everything, and we were supposed to be destroyed. But black people are clever, and we figured out how to survive, even in the most brutal circumstances. So that's such situation one. There's a reason why we don't have universal health care in the U.S. is because systems, institutions, and policies that benefit the few at the expense of the many were designed to ensure that black people did not survive and would not be a consideration in the future. That's the first situation. The second situation is I saw someone saying they would never use the term redneck again because if you don't know, redneck has meant hillbilly, country, southern. People think about hillbilly, think people with no teeth, no education, living in trailer parks. It has a very negative connotation, just as anti-blackness does, which also shows you that there is no equity in whiteness either. But turns out that is not, I'm not going to say is not, because it probably is, but that's not the only reason. There was it was I probably will cut some of this out because I'm pausing. So I'll just let you know I will. But it was yeah. Okay, wait a minute. Give me a second. It was coal miners in West Virginia, and they were black, brown coal miners used to wear the red bandanas around their neck, and that's how they got rednecks when they were fighting for equal pay. And I think he said the 1920s or 30s. So you have two things that seem separate, right? The fact that universal health care is not in the United States because of white supremacy and anti-blackness, and white people willing to forego their own best interests to ensure that black people didn't survive. And then you have this this great union story, right? About solidarity and about the wealthy exploiting the most vulnerable. If you saw them as separate, you can have binary opinions, right? But they're connected, and that's what they're connected. Because also unions have historically been white supremacists and anti-black, right? And so when we stand up in 2024 and we tell these stories without the historical context, an undergirding of what historically, because this has been my hope, even in tech, they've been talking about bringing in, being unionizing tech workers. And my thing is always, just like with Medicare for all, where are the policies to ensure that you do not replicate the harm of white supremacy and anti-blackness that is rooted in how these systems, institutions, and policies have always been operated within the U.S.? What is the plan for that? And if you don't have a plan for that, then what's going to happen, what always happens, is you have a coalition of the wounded that falls apart and fractures when the goal, let's say the goal again in this redneck situation, the goal was to equal pay. As soon as you get equal pay, then the black folks, the brown folks who supported white folks in their efforts get shunned and become a problem, and then they're harmed. And I want to give you a good example, because even in Appalachia, West Virginia, when they were in solidarity in the workplace, they were not in solidarity in their personal lives. They were not in solidarity in their communities. And so that is what and that is the conversation we need to have. Those are the hard conversations we need to have. The truths we need to face is, how do we, as a coalition of the wounded, learn, use these as teachable moments so that we do not replicate the harm of the past, learn how to build coalitions and communities with broken people who have traditionally sabotaged each other, for lack of a better cliche, thrown each other under the bus. And some have actively harmed others, because again, when I think about the coal miners back then, I'm surprised that they had black workers in this coalition, because a lot of places did not have black workers. So then it makes me think, so why did they have black workers? Oh, they maybe didn't have enough workers of white workers, so they had to. So there's a whole story that needs to be told in 2024 that helps explain the trajectory of how we got here. Because if we don't do that, then any strategies any outcomes we're trying to get will fall short as always, because we're not dealing with the real problems. So when we're talking about supremacy-free, coercion-free, discrimination-free, and exploitation-free, I need you to think a little deeper. This is always when I say, ask yourself, what am I missing? What am I missing? What am I missing? Because again, those two separate situations, the situations seem separate, but in my head, I start seeing connections. I start seeing connections because those same West Virginia folks, because there was a book written, Dying of Whiteness, by Jonathan, can't think of his last name right now, and he interviews people in Appalachia, and this was with Affordable Care Act. So this was recent, and white folks in rural areas, it wasn't just Appalachia, but white folks in rural areas said that they would rather not have health care if it meant black folks have health care. So those are the conversations we need to have, and stop making shit so simple, because it's not simple. It's all rooted in white supremacy and anti-blackness. And until we address that, none of the wishes and hopes and dreams you're putting on Kamala Harris matter, because we're not dealing with the real shit. So until tomorrow, peace. Become a sustaining sponsor at kimcreighton.com/support-the-work and help make this work happen.